Welcome to another Not Your Average PT podcast. And you're here with myself, Ben, and we're here with Georgia today.
Hello, everybody.
And today we are going to touch on the subject of eating habits. So, good one, I think this one. It's going to be a few little subjects we're going to touch on, and hopefully going to be able to cover a few things which we regularly talk about to our clients as well. So, is there anything you want to speak about first for yourself, Georgia?
Well, we're going to cover, I guess, around habits that I personally have done, and whether it goes from binge eating or not eating enough during the day and eating too much at night time, and eating around female cycles and all of that. So I'm keen to talk all about it.
Yeah. So a lot of the time, people still overlook their nutrition when it comes to whether they want to feel really good or look a bit different, or change the body shape, or even the fitness as well. If they've got like goals around the performance, see that regularly as well, that people don't put as much energy into that side of things, where it's such a big element. Performance in the gym, performance outside of the gym even as well. Your energy, how your thought processes are, how good you are at work as well, and obviously what you look like.
And obviously weight loss too.
Yeah, and obviously that when it comes to like specific goals as well. So it's such a big element, and it just affects a lot of the time. And most people who are busy and all the rest of it, they just don't really focus on putting a little bit of extra attention in. Or the one we hear a lot is like, I eat healthy, but not currently in line with the goals or all the rest of it as well.
Well, healthy to them might not be, that's right, not in line with, if they want to lose fat, then that might not.
Yeah, and obviously that a lot of clients that train with us in particular, they that is one of their goals. A lot of the time, as you know, there's generally four big things which you're going to influence your nutrition. So whether or the other way around, sorry. So whether you want to lose some body weight or some body fat, whether you're trying to gain some muscle tissue, whether you're trying to get fitter, or even just maintaining, that's your nutrition has about roughly around, as the saying goes, 70 to 80% nutrition, 20 to 30% exercise. So it's, as I say, it's such a big element. This is why, it's, and everyone's got an emotional connection to what they eat as well.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. When I found out it was 70 or 80% food and 20 to 30% exercise, I was stunned, because you can train and still eat, and then if you're eating too much to go with the training, then you're just not going anywhere. Especially for my sake and trying to lose weight, I didn't really focus on nutrition much at all.
Yeah, and you obviously had a big shift yourself, haven't you, last 12 months?
Yeah.
How many kilos down are you now?
24 now.
24 kilos down. It's a massive shift, obviously in lifestyle, importantly.
Oh yeah, 100%. And having that knowledge around nutrition and training as well is all just, my whole mindset is completely shifted.
Yeah, obviously it's been your own journey has been very powerful.
Yeah.
And obviously that's very insightful as well when you see the shifts as well in habits, and that's what we're all about as well. When people come to see us, or like our beliefs is to really look at establishing a really good habit lifestyle, so that we can have long lasting change, or implement things and educate people to be able to make better choices. So it's not something that we go, eat like this for this amount of time, or train like that for that amount of time. It's like we want to look at what you're doing currently and really try and maximise whatever those results you're looking for, or try and utilise something that's going to be forever.
For that lifestyle that you potentially want, and having a good relationship with food and training together is so important.
Yeah, and that relationship with food is obviously, we can touch on that shortly as well. But what most people, I would suggest, so let's go on to what most people come to us, because obviously as personal trainers with us, we see a lot of this all the time. And the common trait for most people is that with the nutrition, that is, what's happening is they don't eat very much through the day, either miss meals or undereat, surviving on lots of coffee, chicken salads for lunch, having like bits of fruit here and there, maybe.
Couple of snacks.
A couple of little small snacks of something random maybe, or like I say, missing breakfast, missing lunch sometimes as well, and then towards the back end of the day, just gobbling down whatever they want.
So starving, not even realizing it until they sit down for 2 seconds and then realize that they're so hungry and binge or overeat.
And obviously that afternoon as well, another coffee, or then it's like coffee and cake, afternoon tea or something, and then they get home, as you say, and it's just like binge or like raid the cupboards or
or just overeat over nighttime, which is not you should be sustaining throughout the whole day.
Yeah, and it's generally when it comes to especially carbohydrates. So we talk about the macronutrients we look at are the carbohydrates, protein, and fats. So generally speaking, carbohydrates are an energy source, aren't they? So generally you want to have good energy through the day. And you probably heard the phrase of something like, well, not the phrase, sorry, but most people I would suggest when they grow up, it's how you've been brought up, isn't it?
Oh yeah, just habits.
Yeah,
family habits.
Been established. So I don't know about you, but myself growing up was more like cereals or toast for breakfast, sandwiches for lunch, like biscuits / afternoon tea sort of stuff, whatever. And then dinner would be maybe like I don't know, shepherd's pie or something, or a lasagna or something like along the lines.
Very similar.
Is that sort of
very, very similar. More. I mean, we'd have barbecues and things at the night time, and lots of salad, and growing up we did have a lot of spaghetti bolognese and for dinner, but breakfast is generally exactly the same. Cereal, toast. It's never really when you talk about protein, it was almost like, oh, what's that? It just doesn't really. It never really went into like the breakfast scheme for us. So when it goes to most people, obviously, that's what I would suggest. But worst case scenario, a lot of the time as well, though, they just coffee through the day, don't eat very much, maybe it's a bit of banana bread. And then when they shift into thinking that they actually are eating healthy, what they think is healthy, just a whack of those balance of macronutrients is really out. It's because it just has such an implication on your hormones, how your energy is, how your thoughts, all that kind of stuff. Well, if they wrote down all those little tiny things, like you say, banana bread, coffee, if they wrote all of that down and figured out exactly how much was in all of that, they'd be shocked, because it's all these tiny little things that add up to so much.
So let's go to the next one, which is most people, well, not most, sorry, that's the wrong words. Some people think that they're eating healthy.
In inverted commas.
But really, what's like sometimes it actually can be healthy, of course. But if they want to get to a particular goal, or they want to get to a certain level of fitness in particular, they might be a little bit off. So, what would you say would be a healthy breakfast in your eyes? What would you think that you hear as well?
That I hear from So what I used to do, Weet-Bix, for example. You'd have like four little bits of Weet-Bix.
4 Weet-Bix, yeah.
4 maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Carbs and twos.
There you go. So just Weet-Bix, or 2 big pieces of toast. Then you'd load that up with banana, and then you'd have Vegemite, or you'd have then you'd have a big fat coffee with it too. So all of that is just carb, I've learned. So, and I would never have thought that was not a well balanced meal.
Yeah. And then what would you eat after that, or what would you suggest would be the person? Imagine the person saying to you, "I eat healthy." That's one thing they have for breakfast.
What about a big box of nuts? For snacks and things like that. You don't realize how much fat is in a tub of nuts, or trail mix, as they say. So and you've got dried fruit and little tiny things that you don't realize actually have so much in it.
Yeah, it's the marketing, isn't it, though, as well? Remember when you think like the dried nuts and the nuts and the dried fruit, it's like, oh yeah, I'm having fruit.
Muesli bars.
Yeah, muesli bars is a great one. Trail bars or trail mix. It's loaded with like carbohydrates and lots of fats as well. What would be another meal that you would suggest?
So for lunch, I mean, sandwiches depending on what's on it, obviously. But if people, if they think burger, sandwich, that could be.
Would you say people would say that would be their healthy meal?
I'd say probably healthy meals would be more for breakfast and dinner. But lunchtime, people tend to have a bigger meal, I feel like. Yeah.
And then what would you class as, if you hear people say what they have like a healthy dinner, what would you say that people in general would say that was healthy?
Rice, soups, things like that, things that don't really have either a lot of nutrients in it, lots of empty sort of carbs, potatoes, starchy carbs over nighttime. Pasta, rice, potato,
Yeah. I guess, remember as well, like, whoever's listening, we're not nutritionists,
No.
but we've got a lot of experience working with, like, a lot of people over the years, and it's from what's the word? Through our experience of working with those people closely, we kind of, like, have an understanding, and then when we get people to where they want to be, we know what kind of works, because we're working with so many people over the years. Like, I've personally seen, like, the trend is very similar. As far as the habits are, or what works or what doesn't work, and obviously everyone works individually. So I just wanted to kind of add that in as well, just before we carry on.
And nothing's necessarily unhealthy, as we say. Pasta, rice, it's all good food to eat, but it's all in moderation. And how much you should eat.
And there's a difference. Sorry for cutting you off, but like eating healthy versus eating towards a goal in particular.
Yes, exactly.
So I'll give you an example of like what I generally hear for like what a healthy breakfast may be. So let's go. One piece of toast, let's call it a whole meal or multigrain or whatever, with like avocado on there, 2 eggs, sometimes like orange juice as well with that. So that would be generally a healthy breakfast for most people, which is kind of like fine almost. So avocado, great. 2 eggs, great. Piece of toast, that's fine. Next one after that, they might have, like, say, a banana for morning tea, like with a coffee, let's say. General people, let's say, a flat white, okay? So banana, flat white for morning tea. Lunch, let's say they would have a wrap. So I would hear that a lot. So a chicken wrap, chicken wrap, think they're being healthy. Afternoon tea, it might be something along the lines of a trail bar or one of those, a Carmen's kind of like.
Carmen's bar,
something like that. Like a
little
a snack bar or whatever. What's the word?
Snack bar, muesli bar.
Muesli bar. That's what I was looking for. Muesli bar, and then another coffee probably as well.
Yeah,
and
afternoon coffee.
And then dinner, they might have like I don't know, like a bunch of sweet potato with I don't know, could be with some kind of chicken, but we might have a bit of a marinade with it. It might have some rice with it potentially, or something similar, or like I said, sweet potato. So that's all great, like I said, it's all healthy, but when it comes to like the goals in particular, if it is for fat loss, just to balance the fat's gonna be quite a lot. So if we start again from the start, orange juice, lots of carbohydrates, mostly sugar. So I'd probably suggest to swap that to water of some kind, eggs and avocado. Like the avocado, like most people don't go like a little smidge of avocado. It's more like
half an avocado,
half to a full avocado. On its own with the eggs and stuff, it's great, but then when you just look at the rest of the fats through the day, it can be really off. Obviously chicken wrap, might be a bit more avocado in there as well, maybe a bit of drizzle of like some mayonnaise or something. So
fats and carbs, it's all
so when we look at it, I suppose the takeaway from this little point was the fact that really until you start looking at breaking down what's in each individual food, you don't really know. We're just guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why we recommend tracking your food or using MyFitnessPal or something similar to actually map out what we need to be doing. So we know as what the people do when they come to see us, we can work out those macronutrients for them. So we look at activity level, your body type, fat-free mass, and then whatever the goal is. And then that's all relative. Based to those macronutrients then, So once we've done that, that's when we would track it. So the best way we recommend is either by tracking it on MyFitnessPal or creating a food plan.
I mean, a simple thing is just taking pictures of your food and then writing it all down, doing some research, figuring out how much is in there.
It's just about educating what's actually in the foods we are actually eating,
Exactly.
It empowers you to make better choices then, because then when you are out, you can go, what's in whatever you're eating in your meal, you kind of have a bit more of an idea, if you want to, feel good,
Exactly.
Completely it's fine to have like a, sort of a cheat meal, not a cheat meal, but it's the wrong sort of like mentality, I suppose, but more of a relaxed meal, or you don't really care. But we're on this point, we're just trying to think of, okay, if you've got a goal in particular, you might want to look at the nutrition a bit more rather than not thinking about it altogether. Does that make sense?
Of course, well, that's what I've learned at least, and counting it all up at the start, like when I started my journey, Mum and I used to sit there and put all this stuff in that we've eaten for the day, and we were always told, well, put it in at the start of the day, so before you eat it, putting it all in, it was just a shock to the system, thinking, oh my gosh, I've eaten so healthy all day, and it's just way over what I should be having. And it's
until you actually look at what you actually are eating, and that includes, if you look at how much, so obviously in MyFitnessPal you need to enter the value of that as far as like the weight of it, or how much is the volume of it. So until you know that portion size, or until you know what that actually, what is 150 grams of chicken breast, what does that even look like?
Measure it, do it, weigh it.
So you actually do it, you've literally got to be doing it.
Yeah.
Weighing
my food, I never thought I'd do. I have a tiny little weigher, it's just like...
The scales, they really do know this, people get caught on the scales like for their own body weight, but the scales of the units for the food is like really important.
Well, it's going inside you, so...
whatever you consume, and obviously, how you look, how you feel, is a byproduct of what we're eating. But when it comes to the scales which we're measuring the food, it's not like we're saying to do that forever, but if you did it for a small period of time, it's a really good way to really check in. How close am I? You know what I mean?
Becomes second nature.
Because then you don't have to do an hour of training every single day. You don't have to be like killing yourself and burning yourself out and going hard and yo-yoing up and down.
Not getting results.
Exactly, kind of going nowhere quite kind of fast.
Good topic.
I could talk about this all day really, but I don't want to bore everyone to death really as well. Kind of like the backtrack a bit, knowing what you're working towards is going to be key, even with the recovery process as well.
Exactly.
Next topic, binge eating. Before we go on to that one, I did want to touch on kind of like your recovery as well. So remember the role of protein for a lot. Is when you're training as well, you're breaking down your muscle tissue. So we're not actually building your body up anymore. It's only in the recovery process. So a lot of people do forget that. So especially after you train as well, you want to get some nutrients into you quite quickly.
Straight away.
Including some proteins, some carbohydrates, probably a little bit less fat around your training, to be honest. Because it's like a lower absorption rate. You want like a high absorption rate, really.
Protein.
So protein, carbohydrates is a good one.
Protein every meal.
That's a good one to aim for. That's one of the recommendations we would suggest. So recovery is a big important part, especially feeling like I'm sure you've had DOMs before, haven't you?
Yes.
So for a couple of 2 or 3 days later after you've done a hard training session, you've got those DOMs. But if your protein isn't where it needs to be, it's really going to take a lot longer to kind of get that recovery process.
100%. When I first started and I wasn't really, it was still figuring everything out. It was really hard, and I felt like I was sore for 2 or 3 days. But now I recover so fast because I know what to eat and I know how to eat it and how much to eat of protein straight after training, in and around training. So I feel good.
Cool. All right. So binge eating, that's that's a hot topic. I've heard a bit of that at the moment.
Emotional / binge eating.
Binge eating. Okay. So what would do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I guess fasting to start with is not good, because I think fasting until a certain amount of time, you lack that energy. All you want to do is if you're eating little snacks throughout the day and maybe small little meals, and then by the time the nighttime comes, all you want to do is just shove whatever you can find in your mouth and just eat it. Like, I was a huge culprit for that, where I'd eat empty foods, like a piece of toast or things that weren't sustaining me, and then I'd get home and just, like you said before, raid the cupboard and just you get a slice of cheese, or you get a bit of dip and cracker, or whatever you can find or get your hands on, and you just throw it all in. Plus then you eat dinner as well, so it's it's such a bad habit to put yourself in.
I think as well, not underselling yourself short. We just talked a bit earlier about the old habits of like cereals, sandwiches, high carb dinner, lasagna and stuff. But if we reverse engineer that, go to the bottom again, and go into eat when it comes to the carbohydrates in particular, eat like a king for breakfast, eat like a prince for lunch, and then like a pauper for dinner in regards to those carbohydrates. So you're not underselling yourself, and that's a great way to not binge eat or
Exactly.
to limit the amount of doing that, because you are giving yourself good energy through the day.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not going to be as inclined to. But
No, you're
like,
not craving it by the end of the day.
Yeah, man. How many people go as well? You know, I'm gonna get stuck into. You know, I want to get. You know, summer's coming. I want to get ready. That kind of stuff, and then they restrict themselves so much.
Yeah.
And then think they're eating they just like eat like a sparrow all day, and then like you say, just go for it.
Yeah.
Go nuts at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's such a bad habit.
So when you were doing that yourself, then like how once you kind of like, what would you go for, or what was your role?
Oh, like random stuff. Like I'd eat a pickle, or I'd eat a bit of cheese or olives. Just a handful of something that I could, crackers. I don't know, just random stuff that I saw because I was just so hungry and I wanted to. But then you throw all this stuff in your mouth and then you don't realize how filling it all is, and then all of a sudden it hits you and you're like, oh my god, I'm so full. But then you still want to eat dinner, so then you still force dinner down, and by the end of it you just feel like comatose.
Yeah. Carb coma.
Yeah, it's insane. It's such a bad habit to get into.
So what would be if we could give some people some ideas on how to not binge eat?
Balance out your meals throughout the day.
Balance out your meals through the day.
Always meal prep. Have something ready. Think before you open that fridge. Stop and think to yourself, you know what? How can I make myself a small meal right now and eat a small meal that's full of protein and you've got a little bit of carb, or and a tiny bit of fat. Actually balance it out and think about what you're going to eat then.
Yeah.
Instead of make it a sustainable snack. Don't just eat whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just say it's more like mindful eating as well.
Yeah.
Like, what did he say? Like, moving on the lips, lights on the hips, that
That's
kind
right.
of stuff. And it's small gratification, isn't it? Like especially when we'll talk about in a soon, like about the sweet stuff. It's like the instant gratification, but then 10 minutes later, you've kind of like forgotten about it.
Yeah. And you want it again.
You've moved on. Another one with the binge eating, is more like people being super restrictive through the week, and then overdoing it at the weekends.
Yeah.
That's a really common one. So and then at the weekend they're binging and going like maybe not going bananas so much, but more like let's say they've like hardly eaten that much during the week, or let's say they even are on track with wherever they need to be, but then the weekends they've gone, I've done really well this week.
Yeah. I'm gonna give myself a treat day.
I'm gonna give myself a treat, and then a treat goes into another treat.
Yeah.
A meal goes into the next meal, the next meal, and there's the next meal, and then before you know it, it's like balanced out. So instead of like being in that deficit, if it is fat loss, then they've just like married up.
Yeah.
You just over the course of a 7-day process, you've equaled that all out.
Yeah. It's like all for nothing.
Yeah,
Almost.
exactly. But when it comes to the binging, I suppose that's where you think that's that relationship with your food, isn't it? Where it's like, I've done really well this week, so now I deserve to have a treat.
Yeah.
Whereas, really doing something a bit more rewarding, which is going to be more fulfilling as a treat.
With
like
an experience.
Go for a massage, or getting your nails done, or I don't know,
Go for a surf.
Go for a surf, or spending time with friends, or do something that's actually going to be a bit more wholesome, where you've actually felt you've had a great weekend, or if you're gonna have like something that's gonna be a bit too much kind of like unleash the gates, I suppose, with food, and then you don't know when to stop. I suppose that's the old binge, I think, because you felt like you've restricted yourself,
knowing when to stop, and that's all a mental game, I guess, too.
Yeah, totally. And then so going back to some of the tips for stop the old binge eating. I think you said before, kind of like not missing meals.
Yeah.
And that was a key one, wasn't it?
And meal prep.
Meal prep was a good one. Protein each meal is something we recommend anyway, because protein makes you fuller for longer, gives you more satiety, and it does curb the carbohydrates as well. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
From experience, obviously losing 24 plus kilos.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously that was a big one you weren't doing before, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Another one is drinking enough water as well. So a lot of people get mixed up with, they think that they're actually hungry, but they're not. They're just really thirsty.
Yeah.
Especially if you go to the bathroom and your pee's like bloody treacle.
Yeah.
Probably need to smash some water, but that hunger feeling could be potentially because you're not drinking enough water. So make sure you make pints of water or liter of water or something, and then think, do I need to eat?
Yeah.
Or not?
Yeah, that exactly happened to me recently. I was looking at this orange, and there was I had watermelon, orange, and grapes at home, and I was thinking, well, they're full of that juicy, watery, like thirst quenching flavor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to eat that. I'm going to have a big glass of water and see how I feel after. And I wasn't even hungry. I actually wasn't. It was a weird thing, because I thought, I'll smash this entire orange, or I'll go eat that watermelon or whatever. And instead, you can have a little snack of it. But water was the thing that suppressed my appetite. Yeah. It's funny.
And remember as well, if you're doing like every hour of exercise, like I'd recommend having at least 600 to 700 mils, to negate to get on top of that exercise as well. So especially if you've done like a hard training session, we need to be having that water intake for sure.
Yeah.
Another good one is going to be, especially when we talk about the binging eating at the weekend, is to not feel like you're so restricted with yourself over the course of the week. So rather than this is a great one, especially when I can remember doing some bodybuilding competitions. I don't think we're going to be on that much longer. I'm going to talk about this a little bit, and then I'm going to talk about some night cravings.
Yeah, cool.
Have you got any other ones you want to talk about?
Eating around your period, was that?
Yeah, that was a great one. I'll talk about this, but I'm going to talk about now. I shouldn't have started.
You said bodybuilding, just on the eye. So obviously when I was trying to get really low body fat levels, I'd have to be, really focused on diet and nutrition essentially, because when you need to get your body fat like super low, that as well as your exercise has got to be, bob on. What I would generally do is just have a meal plan and just eat the same thing every single day. So depending on how long the prep was, be generally 4 months, 5 months. I've done a shorter one previously as well, only 3 months. But when I would follow that meal plan, I'd literally eat the same thing like a robot every single day. And to the point of like when I remember socialising and taking my own like chicken and vegetables for dinner and saying I'm having this. Like, but I'd eat with everyone, but I'd say that that's what I want to eat, because I know it's been measured out, it's all been weighed, it's all been meticulous. That was such a big element. Yeah.
But obviously got my body fat really low, and obviously not so much. Not a great habit. Not a great what's the word? Not a great relation with food, because then I'd have like a factor like a cheat meal on that Saturday night, and then I'd be like waiting for the cheat meal to come around, and then it'd be like a proper
huge
sit down. It'd be like spaghetti bolognese on top of pizza with garlic bread, with a whole chocolate cake and ice cream.
Oh my god.
And it'd be literally just you're thinking, oh, this is the meal. I've got to get it in.
Make it worth it.
Make it worth it. This is the only meal I can have. This sort of stuff. And then I'm back to it again the next day.
I actually feel sick just listening to it.
At the time, I was salivating. Maybe a bit of chocolate cake, got a sweet tooth, but yeah, at the time I'd be going for those sort of things, and eat just literally, as we said before, that carb coma. Just eat, eating so full, because essentially when you do go on a fat loss journey anyway, your stomach's going to start shrinking, so then you're not actually going to be as hungry anyway.
Yeah.
So then when you do have those, I'm sure like a lot of people, when you start having like the breads or the higher amount of like gluten, that kind of stuff, your body just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
You're not used to eating that sort of, especially the high sugar stuff.
So true.
So I just remember just having like the sweats and like not being able to go to sleep, couldn't even lie down in bed properly, just be like cranked up, like kind of like doubled over a little bit, and like I wouldn't be able to be like crap asleep, and like the next day was generally one of the days off, like from work and stuff, and you'd just be like a brew in the morning because you'd feel like crap, and it would take like half of the day to kind of not feel like that. Yeah. And then but then as soon as like that mid-morning came the next day, then you're planning the next one. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, what am I gonna have? I can't wait to have this, and then doing it all over again. And that obviously went on for quite a long time until the comp was done, which again, you're learning that, you're always learning about yourself all the time.
Quite an extreme case, I guess.
It is, but the important thing from that was be like, okay, you know what?
Balance it out.
To not binge eat, like I've done other preps after that, and it didn't go as hard, that kind of stuff, and conversely had a better body composition as well. Yeah. But a good one to do if you're somebody who's like really restricted through the week and then like feels like, oh, I've earned it and have like whatever at night time, would be definitely to include something, through the week which you can actually
stop the craving for the weekend.
Yeah, well, you kind of like, okay, you know what, if you're gonna have a cookie, if you actually tracked it and see how much is in there and you allowed it into your diet, then that's okay. Yeah, exactly. Because if it's actually in line with your goals anyway, as far as those balanced macronutrients, then you can still get your result. Yeah. And you don't feel like you've restricted yourself as much. Exactly. Yeah. But it's just that education about what is in the food we're eating. Yeah. Let's say you had a small cooking, it was like 30 carbs and like say 20 grams of fat and like 2 grams of protein or something. Yeah. So if you added that up and then you were within your numbers, then you're completely fine. Exactly. So it's that flexibility. Yeah. You find that like you put that in and then with all your other healthy food and all your well-balanced food, I guess, and then you realise, oh, I don't really want that. I'd rather eat, you can almost eat double of salad or something else that, if that's what you want. Yeah, it's choosing your calories and choosing where you want to come from. Some people like to have a few drinks and that's fine as well, but to understand that if you want to get somewhere, then you obviously need to be able to make some other sacrifices somewhere else, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is important, but but if you did include something, let's say you had like, let's say half a block of chocolate a day, because you needed, that was an important thing for you, and as long as we're able to kind of counteract that. Yeah, counteract it or include it, or do an extra workout the next day, that kind of stuff. I think that's fine, Exactly. Right, next little subject we're going to talk about was, what was it? Eating around your cycle as a female, obviously. I think it's just important. It's not a huge topic, but obviously we get cravings, and in my last 2 cycles, for it as an example, the last cycle I heavily craved fat, like just nuts, and actually pretty much just nuts. I was just shoving lots of nuts in my mouth. But I really, really craved that. And then the cycle before that was just carbs. All I wanted was toast. All I wanted was just bread. And it's just about being conscious of that, and when your cycle is coming, when you know it is, and balancing each meal, because I heard, which Bex, our other trainer, she gave me some helpful tips, and apparently you lose 400 calories just naturally when you're during each cycle. So balancing that out with healthy foods, with yogurts, high protein foods, is all gonna balance out your hormones a bit better. Per day? Apparently per day, while you're in a period. Yeah. So that was really, really interesting, and it made a lot of sense for me too, because if you're trying to sort of suppress that craving,
you're better off just having a slightly bigger meal with your protein and balance it out all throughout the day. It just being super extra conscious in that time.
And it worked for you?
Yeah, it did, because also cravings don't just happen while you're on your period, it happens a week prior.
Yeah.
So it's and that's what I've struggled with hormone wise, is trying to get that balance.
Yeah. And that as you say, that week before, when you are craving, just that increase in serotonin.
Yeah.
Obviously the hormone balance is completely shifted.
Yeah.
So that's where you do get those cravings. So then when you got to be really mindful of like expecting it to happen.
Yeah. And being aware. Yeah.
Definitely make sure your protein up is key.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if there's a goal in mind, you need to lose fat, then tracking your period is just like tracking your food.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're aware of it, so that when you just start eating all this stuff, you don't know why, all of a sudden your period hits you.
Yeah.
That's happened to me thousands of times. Well, not many times. Yeah, so feels like thousands.
And that's why as well, if we're tracking, we generally track body weight, body fat, measurements, pictures, all that kind of stuff. But if we're tracking somebody's body weight, if it is a fat loss goal in particular, it's never going to be linear. It's never going to be the same every single week, especially for females. So from us, we need to be having a really good relationship with our clients in particular, so that we understand that if your body weight hasn't changed in a few weeks, but then it might suddenly drop, but then it might go up again a little bit, and then it might go off flat again, but then it might drop again. But what we look at as period over time, not the period, but we look at over a time, is obviously that trend, whatever the trend is. So that's really powerful with our app, is to look at the graph and go, look at that, every fourth or fifth week it spikes up, but then it flattens off, and then it drops again, and then it spikes a little bit, and then drops again, and then it flattens off, or whatever it may be. So it's really important to know your own body. And
it's so interesting to see how it all works.
But until you start again, until you open yourself up to that bit of accountability, or to be, if I don't want to weigh myself, or again, we're not saying weigh yourself every day, or what we believe in is weigh yourself once a week under the same circumstances at the same time is the most accurate way to track that over a period of time. And then we can see what's going on as well. So even when you don't feel like you want to that week, it's good to do it, because when we can look at it in 3 months' time, we can look back and go, look, there's the trend. Look, how good has that been?
Exactly.
It's
that
very
was very my trend. Mine was like low, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then it would just flatline, and then go low again, and then flatline, because it was that's just how my body started to work.
Yeah. A lot of people are very similar. Going on to things like the menstrual cycle and the female in particular, I think that's another podcast as well. I think we saved that for another one, especially around menopause, pre and post menopause is another one, but we'll definitely cover off it in the future, I think. Right, so I just wanted to kind of go on some top tips or top options for some night cravings. There's a lot of people always say, after dinner, I feel like I want to have something sweet, or let's say they've eaten everything they need to be eating for the day. In fact, they're following a meal plan, or they've hit the numbers, or as well. Actually, before I talk about that, we're not saying as well to track food every single day. We're not saying to follow this or that or whatever. We're just saying if we want to get somewhere, that's probably the best option to get from A to B if you're looking to.
It's a good way to start forming healthy habits, good habits, and then you can drop it off once you've already, you've mastered the habit.
Of course. And we talk portion sizes a lot as well, so just giving you some really good tools to go away with as well. So not just being completely anal about every single little thing, even though that is the best way. We try to take the stress out of it as well. So we always give lots of different options. I think anyway that's why I love working with somebody personally, because you can really see the difference, and you can actually coach that person on an individual basis, based on their habits.
But the reality is we're not there 24/7 with every client trying to work out what they're eating every day. So if we're not there, then the food tracking app can be.
yes, of course. So top little options for night cravings. Have you got any that you?
Well, I got in the habit a while ago, before my journey actually. I love peppermint tea. So my go-to after dinner was, ice cream,
Yeah.
100%. But then I just got obsessed with peppermint tea. Just T2 peppermint tea, just love it. So that for me, but ice cream before was probably my go-to.
Okay. So peppermint tea, like I was going to say, herbal tea is a great one.
Yeah.
Really good one. Again, going back to thinking that you're hungry, but it's actually need fluid or water or / herbal tea is a good one. Another good one I like to suggest is possibly a low calorie protein bar, because generally around about 200 calories is a good one with about 20 grams of protein. But if you get a protein bar or even half of a protein bar, get a sharp knife, cut it up into some little chunks, and then you're like, it's that habit of eating something.
Yeah.
That could be a good one.
Yeah.
Have you got any good ones before
I mean, a tiny bit, little scoop of yogurt, high protein yogurt or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great
That
one.
would be a good one instead of ice cream, because that's what people crave.
Put that in the freezer.
Yeah.
Put the yogurt in the
Yeah,
freezer.
exactly. Frozen yogurt. Actually, YoPro frozen yogurts.
Yeah.
The
They do that.
Yep,
don't they?
they've got high protein. It literally is the frozen yogurt on a
We're not
stick.
trying to
from
sell
Coles.
them. We're just trying to.
Everyone, just listen here for a minute.
We actually, speaking about products and stuff, we actually sell a low calorie hot chocolate as well.
Oh yeah, that is so good.
And that's got a lot of things in to help you sleep as well. But again, it's very low calorie, really good hot chocolate if you feel like you want to have something before bed.
And you sleep so soundly. I can say from experience, literally, I can. I just go on.
Another one is, even a handful of strawberries. Like strawberries are really low calorie, low carbohydrate stuff. So a handful of strawberries, a bit of sweetness is good. And even there's so many other products out there now as well.
Yeah.
Like the protein custards or the protein brownies.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. But be aware of, still always mindful of how much.
Yeah, definitely having to be mindful of that for sure. What the total intake is, or even allowing for it, you know what I mean? But if you are feeling like you do need something sweet, it does get you across the line. That's a pretty good option.
Yeah.
Another one is a good one I've done before is a scoop of protein powder.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a low calorie one like we do, it's only about 100 in there, I think, anyway. We've got 20 grams of protein, 25 grams of protein. Put a little bit of water in there in a cup. Mm-hmm. Stir it up with a teaspoon, put it in the microwave for a couple of minutes. No, sorry, a couple of seconds, actually, about 20-30 seconds, not a couple of minutes, it'll come out horrible.
Yeah.
In the microwave though, it goes like cake mixture.
Yum, I want that.
And then you put some frozen blueberries in there, maybe like 4 or 5 frozen blueberries, and it gives it a bit of different flavour as well.
Water or milk, right?
I go water.
Just water?
Well, there's nothing in it, is there?
Yeah, there's no point.
Milk is what in there, some carbohydrates, a tiny bit of protein, tiny bit of fat. So anyway,
exactly.
The best obviously would be water.
Yeah. That
in a cup, some frozen blueberries.
Yum.
Yum it up. Put it in a microwave for a few seconds, and then Bob's your uncle.
That's a good idea.
You can eat it. You can eat the protein.
That's like cake.
Yeah, it's like cake mixture. It literally is that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my top sort of like nighttime sweet cravings.
Yeah.
I would suggest.
Yeah, I have to say herbal tea has been really, really good for me. It's just such a nice way to end the whole day. I feel like almost you meditate with a herbal tea. Yeah. Or is that just me being
Well, one of our clients, Dean, he loves that as well. He's into the old herbal teas, and that's one thing we said on one of our last seminars that we did.
Yeah.
Was the herbal tea, and he took that away.
Great.
There's so many different ones as well to go for, isn't there?
Oh, T2. You could go crazy in there.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So I think that covers off on most things around eating habits.
Habits, yeah.
Obviously, this is such a big subject. There's so much we could talk about, but I feel like we've kind of covered off on quite a few things there as well.
I think so.
And if there is something that you'd like to talk about a bit more in the future for anyone listening, we'd love to hear from you as well. So you can flick us a message on our social media, Central Coast Personal Training. Or I think you can leave comments on the bottom of this podcast as well. That'd be amazing if there's anything you want to listen to in particular. We've got a few subjects in mind, but I hope this one's been pretty insightful.
Beneficial.
Yeah, pretty beneficial. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I will leave you to it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Auf Wiedersehen.